Ready?
Are we
Hi.
live? Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Laura Whitmore, and I'm here live with Chandrika Tandon. Tandon, and we're going to be talking about her amazing new project called Shivoham, The Quest. And thank you so much for taking a few minutes to chat with us about it. Why don't you share a little bit about the project and what's the concept behind it?
So this really is I would say, a musical expression of a 20-year journey. About 20 years ago, and I've been very active in the business world, and I wanted to really. I reached a point when I was really thinking about what makes me happy, what is success, why are we here on this planet, all these meta questions, but they became a very sort of strident cry in my head. And so about 20 years ago, this became a big crisis, and I started the whole journey of exploring the answers to those questions. And one of the many answers that came up was that music was one of the most important things that made me really happy. And I'd always sung when I was little, and then this just reconnected me back to who I was really, which was all my happiest moments were tied to music. So I went back to music. I went back to studying music. I went back to singing. I went back to discovering my own state of love, light, laughter. And I'd say this whole 20-year journey has been the quest towards that state which I call Shivoham.
Wow. Well, I got to listen to the album, and it's just so beautiful. And can you share a little bit about the performances on it and who you brought together to work on this project?
There are about 270 musicians.
You don't go small.
We don't go small. Because it was there were so many genres and so many influences, and so we had a Gregorian chant, and so we wanted to get the best Renaissance instruments for the Gregorian chant. So we used viol da gamba, and we brought some specific Indian instruments that would complement the Gregorian chant. We used an entire choir at Abbey Road, and so we used the London Metropolitan Voices. I think it was 50 or 60 singers. And then there was another song, because of the crisscrossing of the genres in this album, we brought in the King Singers to sing on a sort of a folk-like melody with sort of English, with an old English text, which we married with an old Sanskrit verse. So the King Singers, that's several of them. And then the last piece is the Soweto Gospel Choir, which came in with a sense of jubilation. It's a song of blessings, and we brought the Soweto Gospel Choir. In addition to that, we've recorded in India with an amazing group of singers. We recorded in New York with the Soul Chants Ensemble, who are both choirs. So we have 5 choirs on this album.
Wow.
And we have so many soloists. Kenny Warner on the piano. We all know Kenny Warner. He's done the Effortless Mastery Institute. One of my arrangers was T. Skoll, who's actually been involved in Lion King, and he's done Across the Universe, and he's done multiple Selma. He's done mega projects, and Matisse is a brilliant musician as well. Romero Lubambo, Jamie Haddad on the percussion, Ciro Baptista. These guys are so much more wonderful than I am, and they all brought their hearts and souls into this album.
Yeah, well, it really shows. I mean, it is beautifully recorded and just so beautiful
Thank you
to
so
listen
much.
to. And tell us a little bit. I mean, it is a lengthy piece of work, so tell us a little bit about that and how you decided to do three. You can see them here. These 3 concepts.
Movements,
Movements, right?
And this is the bane of the album in my head, because here we are in this world with 30-second video, clips, and a song that goes over 3 minutes seems like much too long. And here I'm demanding that people take this journey with me on a 90-minute album. It's actually 86 minutes to be precise. But this album is about a journey. Of course, there are 12 songs. One can look at it as a song cycle of sorts. But it's 3 movements, which weren't completely linear, but were 3 movements of my journey. And the 3 movements were, for me, the whole movement which I'm calling yearning, where this voice was inside and was asking for something more. I didn't know what that voice wanted, but I knew what I was doing wasn't right, what I was doing wasn't enough. And then that voice got more strident, so that became the the movement of searching. So you went from yearning to searching, and that at that movement of searching, which has 4 songs, you turn to what you know best. So in my case, I turn to prayer, I turn to teachers, I turn to books. I mean, I read 2,000 books at that time. I turn to music, I turn to different forms of music, because we're all looking for wisdom. I turn to meditation, and that I turn to lots of breath work, meditation, because I wanted to find out what it is that I was looking for, because I didn't know that. And the end of that movement is about finding a teacher or a bunch of teachers that tell you the light is really within you. You can look everywhere, but ultimately you've got to be, I guess, you've got to radiate that and find and radiate that light within. And then the third movement is connecting. So it's that journey, and in that connecting, it's not that you connect and you're there forever. You connect, you have a glimpse of it, but you're never the same again. It's like you've always been wearing these thick 5-inch dark colored spectacles your whole life, and for a few minutes you take that off. You see the world differently, and even if you put them back again, you'll never experience the world the same way. And so the 3 movements are intended to basically reflect that journey. Is it linear? No. You take 2 steps forward, 5 steps back, hopefully 5 steps forward and 2 steps back.
I'm so moved by you just speaking about that. So you're right, it's a journey, but it has reward.
Yes, and the thing, Laura, is it's not my journey alone.
Yeah.
It's your journey.
Right.
And I tell you, if we sat down with a whole group of people and we spoke about it, it would be all our journeys. The details would be different. The stages we're in are different. Our life circumstances are different, but it doesn't matter. And I think it's, to me, so if I look back and said, why have we put all this effort into the music? Why have we brought, we spent 2 years making this album. This wasn't a trivial effort. We brought 2 years to bring this music together in the best form I could think of at that moment. But the reason, of course the music is important, it's critical, but the big meta dream that I have is that this will spark a conversation, because ultimately on the planet today, what we all need is to find the light within ourselves. How can we radiate peace and harmony, and how can we really be a connected world of love, light, laughter if we ourselves don't feel it?
Right.
How can we ever, how can we be something? We'll be so inauthentic.
Right.
And so we have to start with us. I mean, yes, all the greats have said it, be the change you wish to see. But those are words unless you really practice it.
Well, that's very inspiring.
I think about this all the time. I've lived this for 20 years.
I can tell.
I could go on
in
for
a good
long
way.
time.
In a good way. Let's talk just for a minute more about the actual production of the album. So, can you share a little bit about the composition process? Did you write the music? Like, how did that come together?
It's kind of a dual answer to that. Yes, the music came through me.
Yeah.
Because almost every song was born during periods of deep meditation.
Yeah.
I went, for example, to a 10-day meditation retreat where, you throw away your books, your iPhones, your pens, your iPods.
That should be required for every human.
For every human being. But it's very, very tough for the first 24 hours.
Yeah.
But then around the 4th or 5th day, I heard entire melodies. Because my mind was so quiet, my mind was so deep inside. Of course, I couldn't write any of this down because I didn't have a piece of paper. But it stayed, and the entire Song of Blessings was born. I finished and came out of it on the 11th day. I was able to process that. But every one of the songs, the Song of Yearning, I actually remember the moment and the day I wrote the first 4 lines of that song. So the process was that these songs, I had fragments of all of the songs. In some cases they were much more formed, but I had fragments of all of these over the last 10 years. And then the intense album composition process started about 2 years ago, right here, when we brought Kenny Warner and I had a 3-day workshop with the group of people, and we just, and I just created a structure for the whole album, and the movements and everything.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. So I was going to ask you too. You are a businesswoman. You, I'm sure, pulled in a million directions. So how do you make the space to be creative in your life?
with a lot of challenge. But I will say that this is something that I'd heard about and I didn't completely understand it until I experienced it myself. My practices which have deepened over the years, my own meditations, my breath work, different ways and different practices I'm learning, and I work with to quiet my mind and stay in a radiant place, have quintupled my energy. So overall, a lot of the distraction, the noise that goes in one's head when something is, when you're feeling worried or upset, which kind of stand in the way of getting your work done, that is a lot less than it used to be. It hasn't disappeared completely because being a human being sort of steps in periodically. So I think that's really changed the capacity, the productive capacity. But would I love to have a month or two of just being in some creative space? Though I think one of the wonderful things is that all these sides feed on each other. For example, I'm involved with the Berkeley School of Music, College of Music, and spending time and listening to what they're doing, even though you go in as sort of being involved with the school, you get energized by what they're doing, and then that feeds your creative process. And the same thing with NYU and all the other things I'm involved with. So I need the right and left side of my brains to be fully functional, to be a happy human being.
Right. I think that's very true. I mean, I see that in myself too. I'm very busy, but that energizes me to do creative work as well. And just in a more general thought, we're talking to a lot of women out there in the music world and the music business as well. Do you have advice for women in business today? I mean, there's a lot of talk about women and their voices, having their voices heard. Like, have you ever experienced challenges with that in what you do?
My whole life has been a challenge. It's not been easy. I came to this country when I was 23 with $24 in my pocket. I didn't know anything about anything. I didn't go to school here. I didn't know how to dress. I was telling someone the story of how I spent a whole summer in one of the hottest summers of New York, wearing a thick dark brown wool suit, because I didn't know you had 4 seasons and you needed to be buying different suits. So yes, and I still make mistakes. Though now, this is really my home, and this is where I live, and this is what I experience, and this is my home in every way. But I think as women, we have unique challenges, which sometimes really get in our way of expressing ourselves. We feel more deeply. There's a reason they say the divine feminine energy in the planet has got compassion and love, and we radiate sort of caring. There's a flip side to that, because having all that means we feel too deeply sometimes. We are worried, we're caregivers. We give so much to other people and not enough to ourselves. We care deeply about what other people say as opposed to just thinking about ourselves. And that makes us so much more vulnerable to not getting out of the way. There's this beautiful saying one of my teachers taught me, which is, he said, when you step out of the way, your music comes through. How do you step out of the way? How do you step out of the way? You don't even know who you are. And and that is, I think, the biggest challenge. This whole journey for me has been that challenge of just stepping out of the way, because we are radiant beings. As women, we can experience that much more broadly, much more profoundly. But we just need to step out of the way, that we can feel it and we can be it. And I'm also going to say one thing for women, which by the way, I love the fact in our school at NYU, in the technology class, which is engineering, we have the highest percentage of women. 40% of our entering class is women, which is unheard of. So this is it's a tremendous opportunity for us. But I think it's when the women can really experience love like laughter. I think they say women you teach a woman to do things and then they can change not just themselves, they change the whole village. I think the potential is very, very profound.
Wow, that's inspiring too.
So it's inspiring to me. I mean, it's changed my life, and
Yeah.
I really want this for. I sound somewhat evangelical, but it's not because somebody has told me anything, and
Yeah.
I am not somebody who listens to anyone. We're all strong women, and so we don't do anything. I mean, our drives our husbands nuts. We don't do anything that anyone tells us to do. But when you kind of experience it yourself and you see the transformation that has happened to you, you then want it for others.
Yes.
You just at least want to share
Yes.
it, but you can't. You can only share. That's all
Right.
you can do. That's what I want to do. I want to do this through music. I'm
Yes.
so happy to be sitting with you and sharing it through all the great questions you're asking me.
Well, speaking of sharing, I understand that you're going to be touring with this a little bit. Can you let us know when somebody might be able to experience this live and what's happening with that?
So we are planning, this will have several iterations as we go along. So initially, I think we're going to be doing smaller discussions about this idea and the album. And I think in the spring of next year, we are planning a much broader tour, which sort of brings together the music, the visual elements, and almost an immersive spiritual experience, because that's what I would like people to experience and feel with this album. And the exciting thing about this is that we're going to do this together with Berkeley College of Music, the Berkeley India Exchange, and there's
Right.
some fantastic musicians
They're
there.
amazing.
And they're amazing and so enthusiastic, and so we'll get a group of both students and alumni and other musicians, because there have been several on the album, and bring everyone together. And if we can use this as a way of a harmonizing process, because it's not only about the music, it is about what it is we want to do with the music.
Right.
There is a call to action here, and that call to action is that you start a conversation with yourself as a result of this, whether you have it with me or not.
Right. Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited to share Shivoham, The Quest, and so nice to sit with you for a few minutes. So please check it out. Where can people find this music right now?
So it's online on Amazon, on iTunes, and you can get it on CD Baby, and
So we'll put links up.
and we have the website chandrikatandon.com. And by the way, if you go on the website, you can also engage with us to say, what are you feeling, or what is your quest? So you can share your quest with us and begin to share other people's journeys, which is what we'd like to begin to create a community. By the way, the whole album is dedicated to seekers of the light everywhere, and the teachers that guide their path.
That's
So
wonderful.
may we all find the light.
Well, thanks so much,
you.
and thanks everybody for watching.
Thank you.